War. It's a word that evokes images of destruction, displacement, and despair. Throughout history, armed conflicts have ravaged nations, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and broken dreams. From the battlefields of ancient empires to the modern-day conflicts that dominate headlines, the human cost of war is immeasurable. Families are torn apart, economies crumble, and the very fabric of society is strained to its breaking point. The horrors of war extend far beyond the immediate casualties, leaving lasting scars on individuals, communities, and the world as a whole. The psychological trauma, the loss of innocence, and the enduring legacy of violence continue to haunt generations long after the guns have fallen silent. The 21st century, despite advancements in technology and diplomacy, remains plagued by armed conflicts across the globe. From protracted civil wars to regional power struggles, the cycle of violence seems relentless. The international community grapples with the complexities of these conflicts, seeking ways to mitigate the suffering and find paths to lasting peace. The pursuit of peace, however, is a daunting task, often hampered by deep-seated mistrust, competing interests, and the ever-present threat of renewed violence. Yet amidst the chaos and carnage, a glimmer of hope emerges. When the roar of guns falls silent, even temporarily, a window of opportunity opens. This respite from violence, known as a ceasefire, represents a crucial step towards peace, a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. It's a pause, a breath of fresh air in the suffocating atmosphere of conflict. A ceasefire signifies the willingness of warring parties to lay down their arms, to choose dialogue over destruction, and to explore the possibility of a different future. While not a guarantee of lasting peace, a ceasefire offers a chance to break the cycle of violence and create space for diplomacy to take hold. It's a testament to the power of human resilience, the ability to find common ground even in the midst of deep divisions. The road from ceasefire to lasting peace is rarely straightforward, often fraught with challenges and setbacks. Yet the significance of this pause in conflict cannot be overstated. In the complex and often chaotic landscape of armed conflict, understanding the nuances of a ceasefire is paramount. It's not merely a cessation of hostilities, but a multifaceted agreement with far-reaching implications. This video aims to provide a comprehensive guide to ceasefires, demystifying their role in global conflict and diplomacy. We will delve into the intricacies of this critical tool for peace-building, exploring its definition, its various forms, and the mechanisms that underpin its implementation. Furthermore, we will examine the factors that contribute to the success or failure of ceasefires, analyzing historical examples to glean valuable lessons. Join us as we embark on this journey to understand the pivotal role ceasefires play in paving the path from conflict to peace, offering a glimmer of hope for a world weary of war. In the intricate world of conflict resolution, understanding the terminology is paramount. When we talk about a pause in violence, we often encounter words like ceasefire, armistice, and truce. While these terms are often used interchangeably, they carry distinct meanings that are crucial to grasp. Delving into the nuances of these terms provides a clearer understanding of the complexities involved in halting hostilities and paving the way for lasting peace. It's not just about semantics, it's about understanding the different levels of agreement, the intentions behind them, and the potential outcomes they represent. A ceasefire, as the broader term, encompasses any agreement to stop fighting, regardless of its duration or formality. It can be a temporary measure, a brief respite from violence, or a more enduring arrangement aimed at facilitating dialogue and peace negotiations. The flexibility of the term allows it to encompass a wide range of situations, from localized ceasefires between warring factions to internationally recognized agreements between states. Understanding the specific context in which a ceasefire is declared is crucial to assessing its potential impact and implications. Section 2. Armistice. A formal pause. An armistice, on the other hand, carries a greater weight of formality and often signals a more decisive shift in the conflict dynamics. It represents a formal agreement between warring parties to end hostilities, typically with the goal of negotiating a lasting peace treaty. Unlike a ceasefire, which can be implemented quickly and with less fanfare, an armistice usually involves extensive negotiations and often involves third-party mediators or international organizations. The signing of an armistice is often seen as a significant step towards ending the war, as it signifies a willingness on both sides to lay down their arms and engage in meaningful dialogue. The historical significance of armistices cannot be overstated. The Armistice of 1918, which brought an end to the fighting on the Western Front of World War I, stands as a poignant example. This landmark agreement, signed in a railway carriage in Compiègne, France, marked a pivotal moment in modern history, ushering in a period of tentative peace after years of devastating conflict. The armistice, while not a peace treaty in itself, paved the way for the subsequent peace negotiations in Paris, which aimed to redraw the map of Europe and establish a new world order. Section 3. Truce, a momentary reprieve. At the other end of the spectrum from an armistice lies the truce, a more informal and often spontaneous agreement to pause fighting. Truces are often limited in scope, both geographically and in duration, and may be enacted for specific purposes, such as allowing for the collection of wounded soldiers or the passage of humanitarian aid. Unlike ceasefires or armistices, which are typically negotiated at higher levels of authority, truces can sometimes emerge organically on the battlefield, driven by the immediate needs and circumstances of the combatants. While not intended as a path to lasting peace, truces offer a glimmer of humanity amidst the brutality of war, demonstrating that even in the depths of conflict, compassion and cooperation can prevail, even if momentarily. The temporary nature of truces, however, underscores their fragility. Without the backing of formal agreements or external monitoring mechanisms, truces can easily unravel, plunging warring parties back into the abyss of violence. The history of warfare is replete with examples of truces being broken, often leading to renewed bloodshed and further suffering. Yet, despite their inherent limitations, truces serve as a reminder that even in the most intractable of conflicts, the human impulse for peace, however fleeting, can emerge. Section 1. The Spectrum of Ceasefires. Ceasefires, like the conflicts they aim to pause, are rarely one-size-fits-all. They exist on a spectrum varying in duration, scope and purpose. Understanding these different types of ceasefires is crucial for comprehending their potential impact and limitations. At one end of the spectrum, we have temporary ceasefires designed to provide a brief respite from violence for specific purposes. These time-bound truces, often negotiated for humanitarian reasons or to facilitate dialogue, offer a glimpse of normalcy amidst the chaos of war. While limited in scope, they can serve as crucial building blocks towards more lasting peace agreements. On the other end of the spectrum lie indefinite ceasefires, agreements without a predetermined end date. These open-ended arrangements signal a more significant shift in the conflict dynamics, indicating a willingness to move beyond temporary pauses and explore paths to a more durable peace. Indefinite ceasefires can be a double-edged sword. While they hold the promise of a more permanent cessation of hostilities, they can also create a state of suspended conflict, leaving underlying issues unresolved and the potential for renewed violence simmering beneath the surface. Section 2. Time-bound truces, temporary ceasefires. Temporary ceasefires, as their name suggests, are agreements to halt hostilities for a limited period. These pauses in conflict can range from a few hours to several days, weeks, or even months, depending on the specific circumstances and objectives. One common type of temporary ceasefire is the humanitarian ceasefire, implemented to allow for the safe delivery of aid to civilians trapped in conflict zones. These pauses in fighting are crucial for providing life-saving assistance, such as food, water, medicine, and shelter, to those most affected by the violence. Humanitarian ceasefires also facilitate the evacuation of wounded civilians and allow for the repair of critical infrastructure, such as hospitals and water treatment plants damaged during the fighting. Another type of temporary ceasefire is often implemented to mark religious holidays or cultural events. These ceasefires, known as holiday ceasefires, provide a much-needed respite from violence, allowing warring parties and civilians alike to observe their traditions and celebrate in relative peace. These pauses in fighting, while temporary, can serve as powerful symbols of shared humanity, reminding those on all sides of the conflict of their common bonds and the possibility of peaceful coexistence. Holiday ceasefires, by fostering a sense of normalcy and shared experience, can contribute to building trust and paving the way for dialogue and reconciliation. Section 3. Open-ended agreements, indefinite ceasefires. Indefinite ceasefires, unlike their temporary counterparts, do not have a predetermined end date. These agreements represent a more significant commitment to ending hostilities, signaling a willingness to move beyond short-term pauses and explore paths to a more durable peace. However, the open-ended nature of these agreements also presents unique challenges. Without a clear timeline for resolving the underlying issues driving the conflict, indefinite ceasefires can create a state of suspended conflict, with the potential for renewed violence always looming. Maintaining an indefinite ceasefire requires ongoing commitment and dialogue from all parties involved, as well as sustained pressure and support from the international community. One of the key advantages of an indefinite ceasefire is that it provides the time and space necessary for meaningful peace negotiations to take place. With the guns silenced, diplomats and negotiators can engage in dialogue without the immediate threat of violence, fostering an environment conducive to finding mutually acceptable solutions. Indefinite ceasefires also allow for the implementation of confidence-building measures such as prisoner exchanges, the withdrawal of troops from contested areas, and the establishment of joint commissions to address specific issues. These steps, while not guaranteeing lasting peace, can help to reduce tensions, build trust, and create a more conducive environment for resolving the underlying conflict. Section 1. The path to dialogue, peace negotiations. Ceasefires don't just happen, they are often the culmination of complex diplomatic efforts aimed at bringing warring parties to the negotiating table. The desire for peace, however elusive, often serves as the driving force behind these efforts. When the human cost of conflict becomes unbearable, when the futility of endless violence becomes apparent, the yearning for a different path emerges. Peace negotiations, often facilitated by neutral third parties such as the United Nations or regional organizations, provide a platform for dialogue, a space where adversaries can engage in talks without the shadow of violence looming over them. The path to the negotiating table is rarely straightforward. Deep-seated mistrust, conflicting interests, and the fear of appearing weak can hinder progress. Skilled negotiators, often working behind the scenes for months or even years, play a crucial role in bridging divides, building trust, and finding common ground. They must navigate complex political landscapes, manage competing demands, and find creative solutions that address the core issues driving the conflict. The success of peace negotiations hinges not only on the skills of the negotiators, but also on the willingness of the warring parties to compromise, to set aside their differences, and to work together towards a shared goal. Section 2. The weight of the world, international pressure. In our interconnected world, conflicts rarely remain confined within national borders. The ripple effects of violence, from refugee crises to economic instability, can be felt far and wide, prompting the international community to step in and play a role in conflict resolution. International pressure, often exerted through diplomatic channels, economic sanctions, or the threat of military intervention, can be a powerful motivator for warring parties to seek a ceasefire. When the world is watching, when the cost of continuing the conflict outweighs the potential gains, the impetus for peace can gain momentum. The United Nations, with its mandate to maintain international peace and security, often plays a leading role in mediating ceasefires and facilitating peace negotiations. The UN Security Council, the organization's most powerful body, can authorize peacekeeping missions, impose sanctions on warring parties, and issue resolutions calling for ceasefires. Regional organizations such as the African Union and the European Union also play an active role in conflict resolution, leveraging their diplomatic and economic clout to encourage dialogue and promote peace. The effectiveness of international pressure, however, depends on a number of factors, including the unity of the international community, the willingness of key actors to enforce agreements, and the internal dynamics of the conflict itself. Section 3. A glimmer of humanity, humanitarian reasons. Amidst the brutality and chaos of war, the human toll often serves as a stark reminder of the urgent need for peace. The plight of civilians trapped in conflict zones, often caught in the crossfire facing starvation, disease and displacement, can galvanize international action and pressure warring parties to agree to a ceasefire. Humanitarian ceasefires, negotiated specifically to allow for the delivery of aid and the evacuation of civilians, represent a glimmer of humanity amidst the darkness of war. They offer a lifeline to those most in need, a chance for survival and a glimmer of hope in the midst of despair. The principles of humanity, impartiality, neutrality and independence, enshrined in international humanitarian law, underpin these efforts. Humanitarian organizations, such as the International Committee of the Red Cross and Médecins Sans Frontières, work tirelessly in conflict zones, often at great risk, to provide life-saving assistance to those affected by violence. Their unwavering commitment to alleviating suffering, regardless of political or military considerations, serves as a powerful testament to the enduring power of human compassion and the imperative to protect human dignity even in the midst of war. Section 1. From battlefield to negotiating table, the genesis of a ceasefire. The road to a ceasefire is often long and arduous, marked by mistrust and broken promises. It begins with a shared recognition that the costs of conflict outweigh the gains. This realization can stem from military stalemate, economic exhaustion, or international pressure. Initial steps are tentative, often shrouded in secrecy, with back-channel diplomacy playing a crucial role. Early negotiations are delicate, focusing on practical steps to de-escalate violence. Once a preliminary agreement is reached, the focus shifts to hammering out details like troop withdrawal and disarmament. The success of these negotiations hinges on the political will of the warring parties and external factors like international pressure. Section 2. The world takes notice, declaration and the power of scrutiny. The declaration of a ceasefire is a momentous occasion, a beacon of hope. It signifies a collective sigh of relief and a glimmer of optimism for a peaceful future. The announcement is often a carefully orchestrated event, broadcast live, with leaders emphasizing their commitment to peace. This public declaration formalizes the agreement and mobilizes international support. By making the terms public, the international community becomes a stakeholder in its success. Media coverage and human rights monitoring create pressure to adhere to the agreement. Transparency and clear ceasefire agreements are essential for building trust and ensuring accountability. Section 3. Guardians of Peace. The vital role of monitoring and implementation. The ink on a ceasefire agreement is barely dry before the task of implementation begins. Effective monitoring mechanisms are essential for ensuring compliance and building trust. International organizations often play a leading role, deploying trained observers to monitor ceasefire lines. Technology, like satellites and drones, enhances transparency and deters violations. Human observers bring invaluable contextual understanding and local knowledge. Implementation involves addressing the root causes of conflict and creating conditions for lasting peace. Success hinges on the sustained commitment of the parties and international support. Section 1. The fragility of trust. Navigating a minefield of suspicion. A ceasefire often stands on shaky ground, particularly in the early stages. Deep-seated animosity and mistrust don't vanish with the stroke of a pen. Warring parties may struggle to shed suspicions and embrace genuine peace. Each side may harbor doubts about the other's true intentions. Propaganda and misinformation can poison dialogue and undermine peace efforts. Overcoming this deficit of trust requires concrete action that demonstrate a genuine commitment to peace. Confidence-building measures and transparency are paramount for fostering trust and reconciliation. Even with the best intentions, the path from ceasefire to lasting peace is rarely smooth. Ceasefire violations pose a constant threat to fragile peace. Each violation erodes trust and increases the risk of a return to conflict. Motivations behind violations vary, from opportunistic acts to genuine misunderstandings. Each breach chips away at the foundations of peace, making it harder to rebuild trust. The impact extends beyond immediate casualties, affecting communities and hindering reconstruction. The international community must swiftly condemn violations and hold perpetrators accountable. Preventing violations requires clear agreements, effective monitoring, and addressing root causes of conflict. A ceasefire is a necessary first step, but not an end in itself. Transforming a truce into durable peace requires addressing underlying grievances. This involves power-sharing, constitutional reforms, and economic development. The peace process must be inclusive, involving all segments of society. The international community plays a crucial role in supporting peace-building efforts. Peace is a continuous process of dialogue, negotiation, and compromise. Setbacks are inevitable, but sustained commitment can resolve even intractable conflicts. The quest for lasting political solutions is a moral imperative, aiming for a just and peaceful world. Throughout history, moments of silence have punctuated the chaos of war. These ceasefires, some fleeting, others enduring, stand as testaments to the human capacity for reason amidst destruction. Some marked the end of global conflicts, others offered temporary respite for war-torn populations. These moments offer invaluable lessons for conflict resolution. They remind us that even the most intractable conflicts can be halted. By examining historical ceasefires, we understand the factors contributing to their success or failure. From Europe to Asia, the echoes of these ceasefires offer guidance for building a peaceful world. Each ceasefire represents a victory for diplomacy over violence. They are a testament to the human yearning for peace. Let us delve into history and explore these pivotal moments, their challenges and their legacies. As the year 1918 dawned, a world weary of war clung to the faintest glimmer of hope. The Great War, a conflict of unprecedented scale and brutality, had ravaged Europe for over 4 long years, leaving millions dead and empires teetering on the brink of collapse. The trenches of the Western Front, a muddy labyrinth of death and despair, had become synonymous with the futility of war, a stark reminder of the human cost of unchecked nationalism and imperial ambition. Yet, amidst the carnage and despair, a flicker of hope emerged. By the fall of 1918, the tide of war had turned decisively in favor of the Allied powers. The German army, exhausted and demoralized, faced relentless offensives on multiple fronts, its resources dwindling and its morale shattered. The entry of the United States into the war, bringing with it fresh troops and vast industrial might, had tipped the balance of power irrevocably. Faced with imminent defeat, the German government, under the weight of mounting casualties and dwindling public support, sued for peace. The armistice negotiations, conducted in a railway carriage in Compiègne, France, were tense and fraught with mistrust. The Allied powers, led by French Marshal Ferdinand Foch, demanded unconditional surrender, determined to punish Germany for its aggression and prevent any future threat to European peace. The German delegation, desperate to end the bloodshed but reluctant to accept humiliating terms, sought to salvage some semblance of dignity from the wreckage of defeat. After days of grueling negotiations, an agreement was finally reached on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The armistice of 1918, signed on November 11th, brought an immediate end to the fighting on the Western Front. As the guns fell silent, a wave of relief washed over war-torn Europe. Church bells pealed, crowds erupted in jubilation, and soldiers on both sides emerged from their trenches, embracing in a moment of shared humanity that transcended the years of bloodshed and enmity. The armistice, while not a formal peace treaty, marked the end of hostilities and paved the way for the subsequent peace negotiations in Paris, where the victorious Allies would redraw the map of Europe and attempt to forge a new world order. The Korean Peninsula, a land scarred by centuries of conflict, became a battleground in the nascent Cold War. In 1950, North Korea, backed by the Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea, triggering a bloody conflict that would draw in the United States and its allies under the banner of the United Nations. The Korean War, a proxy war between the superpowers, raged for 3 brutal years, leaving millions dead and the peninsula divided by a heavily fortified border. By 1953, the conflict had reached a stalemate. Despite massive military intervention by the United States, the North Korean army, supported by Chinese forces, proved resilient. The war had become a costly and protracted quagmire, with no end in sight. Public opinion in the United States and other Western countries, initially supportive of the intervention, began to sour as the casualty figures mounted and the prospect of a decisive victory seemed increasingly elusive. Negotiations for an armistice began in July 1951, but the talks were protracted and marked by periods of deadlock and renewed fighting. The two sides, deeply divided by ideology and mistrust, struggled to find common ground on key issues such as the repatriation of prisoners of war and the demarcation of the border. After 2 years of grueling negotiations, an armistice agreement was finally signed on July 27, 1953. The Korean War Armistice Agreement, signed at Panmunjom, established a demilitarized zone along the 38th parallel, effectively dividing the peninsula into 2 separate states. The agreement also provided for the repatriation of prisoners of war and the establishment of a neutral nations supervisory commission to monitor compliance with the armistice terms. However, the agreement did not formally end the war, it merely brought a cessation of hostilities. To this day, North and South Korea remain technically at war, their relations marked by periods of tension and sporadic outbreaks of violence. The Korean War Armistice, while imperfect and fragile, stands as a testament to the power of diplomacy to halt even the most intractable of conflicts. It also serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of war and the enduring legacy of Cold War divisions. The DMZ, once a battleground, is now a poignant symbol of both the fragility of peace and the enduring hope for reunification. As we've journeyed through the intricacies of ceasefires, from their various forms and the reasons they occur to the challenges they face and the historical echoes they leave behind, a crucial question arises: can these pauses in conflict truly blossom into lasting peace? The answer, much like the nature of conflict itself, is complex and multifaceted. A ceasefire, while a necessary condition for peace, is not a guarantee. It is a fragile seed planted in the often barren soil of conflict, requiring careful nurturing and the right conditions to take root and flourish. The success of a ceasefire in paving the way for lasting peace hinges on a multitude of factors, some within the control of the warring parties, others influenced by the broader regional and international context. At the heart of it all lies the commitment of those who waged war to now wage peace. A genuine desire for a different future, one free from the scourge of violence and the cycle of retribution, must permeate the hearts and minds of those who once viewed each other as enemies. This transformation from a mindset of conflict to one of cooperation is perhaps the most daunting challenge of all. It requires a willingness to confront the painful legacy of the past, to acknowledge the suffering inflicted on both sides, and to seek forgiveness, not through empty gestures, but through concrete actions that demonstrate a genuine commitment to reconciliation. The pursuit of justice, too, plays a vital role. Addressing past atrocities, holding perpetrators accountable, and providing redress for victims are essential steps in healing the wounds of war and breaking the cycle of violence. Building a durable peace requires more than simply silencing the guns. It demands addressing the root causes of the conflict, those deep-seated grievances, political, economic, or social, that fueled the flames of war in the first place. This is a long and arduous process, often spanning generations and requiring sustained effort, patience, and unwavering commitment from all stakeholders. Inclusive dialogue involving not just the political and military elites but also civil society groups, women, youth and marginalized communities is paramount. The voices of those most affected by the conflict must be heard, their perspectives considered and their needs addressed in any peace settlement. Empowering these groups, providing them with a seat at the negotiating table and ensuring their meaningful participation in the peace process is not just a matter of fairness, it is essential for building a sustainable peace. Economic development, too, plays a crucial role in nurturing the seeds of peace. Creating opportunities for all, regardless of ethnicity, religion, or political affiliation, is essential for healing the wounds of conflict and preventing their recurrence. Investing in education, healthcare, infrastructure, and job creation, particularly in conflict-affected areas, can help to rebuild war-torn societies, foster social cohesion, and create a more equitable and just society. The international community has a moral obligation to support these efforts. Providing financial assistance, technical expertise, and diplomatic backing can make a tangible difference in the lives of those emerging from conflict. Equally important is the need for a long-term perspective. Peacebuilding is not a quick fix. It is a generational endeavor that requires sustained commitment and a willingness to stay the course. Even when progress is slow or setbacks occur, the world must not turn a blind eye once the guns fall silent. It must remain engaged, providing support and encouragement as communities rebuild their lives and strive to create a more peaceful future. Ceasefires, those fragile pauses in conflict, represent a glimmer of hope in a world often shrouded in darkness. They are a testament to the human spirit's ability to choose dialogue over destruction, to seek common ground amidst the ruins of war. While not a guarantee of lasting peace, they offer a precious opportunity, a chance to break free from the cycle of violence and build a better future for generations to come. The path from ceasefire to peace is rarely straight or easy, but it is a journey worth taking, for in the pursuit of peace, humanity finds its highest calling.